Okay, like here's the deal though. If I have to fucking watch this shit, hang on, fuck, I gotta fix my shit. This is how much I am like concerned about about Dave Rubin. Here, let's see. Is everything looking good on my screen? Okay, cool. All right. Look. We watched the first half of this interview, and I didn't even put like my trolley. I'm ripping off the quartering frame. I didn't even put it up because I was just like, I don't give a shit. I don't give a fuck. Because I don't give a shit, and I don't give a fuck, and I fucking hate Dave Rubin. I fucking think he's an asshole. He's a piece of shit, but he's also a liar. So, I mean, I guess if I'm gonna sit here and drink my delicious Pacific Northwest lager, I can at least spend my time watching Dave Rubin and laughing and pointing out how much of a lying piece of shit he is. I guess that's what we're doing. All right, part 2. Let's go.
Right. I mean, there's a reason that communism and socialism and the big government projects of the last several hundred years have killed millions and millions of people, where free market capitalism doesn't do that.
Except when people starve to death, because they are not able to produce the amount of capital. I think I went on a rant about this. I think that's how like I ended the last video. I was ranting about the fact that like, even though we live in a capitalist society, and we engage in very specific socialism style programs, things like our fire department, our road maintenance, our police, these are all socialist programs, right? We still allow homeless people in droves to freeze to death every fucking year. We have plenty of money that we could use to keep them alive, but we don't do it. That is, you could say that is a body count due to capitalism. I don't think that's totally fair to say. I think that it's people using capitalism as an excuse to help. That's the problem. But that would be me giving more nuance than Dave is going to give to socialism, because everything is a communist agenda in the eyes of the right-wing grifter. So whatever. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Let's go.
Certainly. So let's pivot a little bit towards big tech, and this is something you write extensively about in the book. You and I both have a love-hate relationship with tech. It's been very good to me and my family and my lifestyle, and I've really enjoyed my tenure at Breitbart. I was the first employee there, and I've been a part of a lot of really cool historic stuff. But I also hate it too. I think big tech is kind of eating a bit of our soul one day at a time. I think it's addictive. I think it's like a drug, and I think it's the sort of thing that creates sometimes unhappy, unsatisfied people. And not to mention, it's got this sort of super government format to it, where these anonymous, we call them at Breitbart the masters of the universe, picking and choosing what gets promoted, what gets demoted, what's allowed, what speech is sanctioned, what speech is evil. And it's all a very complicated thing. Give me your 30,000 foot on where we are in relation to these tech overlords, and then I'll have some specifics after that.
Yeah, frankly, I'd rather talk about the other masters of the universe, because I used to have quite a collection. I'm talking, He-Man, Skeletor.
I fucking knew that was coming a mile away. I knew it was coming. Dave Rubin is a fucking child. He's a fucking child, man. Like, look, I find it charming. I do. As much as I hate Dave Rubin, I find it charming that he's like, I was thinking all about He-Man, actually. Like, I get it. Okay, it's charming. However, it also is like extremely jarring, and I don't think that it is even remotely cogent in what we're trying to like discuss. It's so out of left field. It doesn't make Dave feel relatable to anybody except like in their late 30s, and anybody in their late 30s honestly knows better than to listen to this fucking moron. Also, if we're going to be talking about Breitbart and saying that there are like media manipulators out there, maybe we shouldn't forget about Steve Bannon facing a fraud charge right now. Like, that is a thing.
Merman, Beastman, I had everybody. But I do like that.
Damon from The Omen is a big fan of He-Man. That's a big laugh.
phrase, and obviously you guys at Breitbart have been right in the center of this fight, and I've been in the center of it, and a lot of other people. Yes, there is a small select group of big tech companies run by a small select group of people, and I don't mean that to sound conspiratorial. That's just a fact.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. The only way you could make it more conspiratorial is if you started attaching the word Jew to it, which isn't something that you're going to do. Thankfully, Dave Rubin does have limits, and that is basically like right before that, that's the limit. That's his fucking limit.
A certain small group of people that run Twitter, and they are very close with the small group of people who run Facebook, not always completely ideologically aligned. Zuckerberg has some differences from Jack Dorsey over at Twitter, as Zuckerberg's obviously Facebook, but also Google and YouTube, they're in essence one company. They control not only the information we see, but when we see it, how much we see it. We have no idea what these algorithms are doing to us, how they're manipulating the way we think. Twitter has shadow banning in the terms of service. In their own terms of service, it says we can, in effect, it says we can.
Then don't use their fucking service. They say in the agreement that I had to click I agree to that they can shadow ban me. And then they might do that. Well, then don't click agree. Don't go on their fucking platform. Literally nobody is holding a gun to your head saying, make a motherfucking Twitter account. You have to, you piece of shit. I lost a Twitter account not that long ago. I spent 2.5 weeks off of Twitter. I didn't die. And when I decided to make another Twitter account, I had to accept the fact that they could shadow ban me or just ban me. But I did that because I'm a big fucking boy. I'm a big boy who learned not to piss my own fucking pants because somebody inconvenienced me, okay?
Either elevate or deboost, meaning let less people see certain tweets. I mean, the whole idea when Twitter came out was you were just going to follow people and see a chronological feed. That no longer exists. So in a way, we're all playing a game. This would be like playing a baseball game and knowing that one team is playing by separate rules than the other team, and then we get the end score, and one team always loses, and we go, well, what?
Wait. Who's on? Wait. Like, are you trying to say like there's baseball teams and one is Twitter and one is Facebook, and they're not following the same rules? Or it's literally their own houses. It's much better to think of social media companies as like their house, If you want to log into twitter.com, you are logging into their fucking house. Their house, their fucking rules. They are providing you a space, their living room, to have your conversation with all of your fucking friends. But it's still their fucking living room. And they can tell you to get the fuck out if they want. And they can also tell you, go sit in the fucking corner if you've been an unruly and shitty guest. Like, you don't pay for Twitter. You don't pay for Facebook. You enter into an agreement of behavior, and then you don't like that. If you breach that behavior and they deem that you breached that behavior, you have to face the consequences. We all have to do this. We all learn how this kind of shit works in like middle school.
What's going on here? We're basically looking at the Globetrotters and the Washington Nationals? Were they the Nationals?
I think it was the Generals.
The Generals, thank you.
Yeah.
Although the Washington Nationals do exist, at least for now.
Yeah, that's right.
So we have a major problem. This is one of those places where I think on the right, you can take a lot of different approaches to fight it. So, for example, Tucker Carlson, I've discussed this with him many times on both of our shows. He wants government intervention. He absolutely believes government intervention should be there. I come from a slightly more libertarian approach, which would be that I want competition to do something, as daunting as that is. But, to go back to the religion thing before David beat Goliath.
Well, why aren't you calling Tucker Carlson a fucking socialist? I just, Dave Rubin, I already discussed this in part 1, but, Dave Rubin has the most cartoonish understanding of libertarianism.
So if David beat Goliath, well, maybe Dave can beat Google. Maybe these things have become so overgrown that their bones are actually weak. I actually think that that's what's going to happen here. These companies will not always exist. There have been large conglomerates over millennia, or at least certainly since the American Industrial Revolution, that have existed that don't exist anymore, that we all thought would exist forever.
Sure.
Right? And I think what could happen is they will crumble under the weight of their own crap. On top of the fact that, let's not forget, they've also allowed themselves to be infected by social justice and critical race theory.
Okay, before we even get to that, I think it's really important that we pay attention to something that I think is fascinating about Dave Rubin. Okay. Part and parcel with what he's talking about right now is trying to say he's I feel like he started to say something and he realized what he was saying, so he's trying to like make it broader than it was. But he's like, I don't think these companies necessarily are going to always exist in the same form. He starts to say that companies rise and fall, and that social media platforms rise and fall, and we know this is true. We do. Ain't nobody on Friendster no more. Ain't nobody on MySpace no more. So these things absolutely can, and they do happen. They rise and they fall. But then he realized that could actually kneecap his fucking argument. So he's like, well, let's take it to a broader social understanding. And he gives absolutely no examples of what he's fucking talking about. Because there are no examples of what he's talking about. He just tried to dodge his own fucking point. This is what happens in this fucking fetid brain full of dog shit. Like, if you look at this man, inside that skull right now is a fucking stinky dog turd. That's what's there. It's not a brain. There's no brain. Brain has been long gone.
And once you let that in, you will no longer hire the best engineers. You will no.
Yeah, so if you hire social justice people or progressive people, then your company just doesn't work anymore. But does that mean that that company is going to fall apart, Dave? Is a social media company going to fall apart?
No longer hire the best managers and the most competent people. You will hire people based on their skin color and sexuality. Now, that's not to say that people of a certain color or sexuality can't do the job adequately, but you should be hiring only based on skill.
Well, then why are these companies doing so well, Dave? If places like Google and Apple are doing all these diversity hires and they're not getting the best people, then why are these companies so wildly fucking successful? Why is that happening? That's so weird, isn't it? Isn't that strange?
I have a small business. I don't care what color you are or what gender you are or sexuality. If you can do the job, I will hire you. It's as simple as that. I thought that's what Martin Luther King wanted, but apparently not anymore.
We did too. Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, but how long till he gets canceled?
Right. Well, no, he's on his way. No, trust me. I mean, look, what he said, the quote that is most often attributed to him, about that he did not want his children growing up in a place where their skin color would matter more than the content of their character. That is the reverse of what modern day social justice says.
How?
So when you see monuments being torn down, you should understand that there is an MLK monument in DC and that will be torn down.
No, it won't. Why the fuck would anybody tear down an MLK fucking statue? Look, don't get me wrong. I don't necessarily co-sign on every time that they want to tear down a statue. I don't. I mean, when they're like Civil War heroes and shit, yeah, tear that motherfucker down. Tear it down. Pull it down. Put it in a fucking museum. Yes, absolutely. There's no reason to have it up in a position of glorification. It is a very good thing to maintain that statue as a piece of history, but then you put it in a place where history is supposed to be preserved. That's a museum. You don't place it in a place of glory, like a fucking park, okay? None of this is hard, but why would anybody tear down a statue of Martin Luther King? And I know that there have been statues that got fucked up a bit that probably shouldn't have. I equate that to just people being dumb, okay? It happens. Sorry. Whoops.
Will be seen as a co-conspirator, basically. He will be seen as someone that played with the patriarchy or something like that, because it's a movement that eats itself. But just to finish the big tech thing real quick, I think you can have the calls for regulation. I think you can have the calls for what Trump did, which is, scale back some of their protections under the law, which is what he did related to Section 230C in the Communications Act. Section 230 in the
Yeah, let's make it easier to sue the media so their job is harder. That's a good idea.
Communications Act. And then I think you can also have lawsuits like PragerU sued YouTube because they were putting their videos on restricted mode.
And they lost.
And then you can also have competition. So I think there's a rich place that we all have to fight differently. We don't all have to be ground troops. You know, we need tanks, we need helicopters, and we need the Air Force too.
Literally what he was just describing are ineffectual, litigious bullshit that didn't work. They clutter up the fucking court system, and they don't help anybody. And we need our suicide commando shock troops. What the fuck?
So do you feel like that there is a timeline on this? Because my one concern with your approach, I have several. I'm much more closer to Tucker's position, I think, on this.
Yeah,
but
I get it. Trust me, I get it. I'm not telling you that I'm totally right on this.
Yeah, and it's not. I want to ask you something that I'm curious about. Do you feel like there's a timeline? Because I know you, like me, are in a war for the American mind, and we're trying to expose Americans to a wide variety of ideas. I think you and I both think that our ideas can win in a fair fight. And the question I have is that
then why does Dave Rubin run from every single debate challenge? Every single one. Dave Rubin runs from every single debate challenge. It's not even there's no joke. There's no nothing. It's just who's Marlowe? Oh, he's Damien from The Omen. No, these people don't want their fucking ideas actually scrutinized. They don't want to have to like put them to the test. No. That's why, like, as much as like some of these weird fucking freaks that will do debates and shit, as fucking weird and as freaky as they are, at least they got the cojones to try. So respect to that.
How long can this unfair fight go on before Americans are totally compromised, where they've just been fed a steady diet of America not only is a horrible place now, but it's always been a horrible place, and the key is not judging people on the content of their character, it's representation. Representation is the most important thing. And how long could we...
I just want to point this out. I did record, I might release what we did record of me watching CancelCon. Vaush already did it, so like that's kind of what I was like, but like I did have a lot to say about it, because one of the first things they say is that it's controversial to say that America is the greatest country ever, and I think it's just inane to say it, but it's also important to pay attention to the different eras in which we weren't great. As Captain Rachel says in the chat, a lot of the statues being torn down date from like the 1960s and were erected in a sort of fuck you to the civil rights movement. That's true. That's absolutely true. A lot of them were. A lot of those fucking Civil War statues were put up during the civil rights movements. A lot of them were put up during Reconstruction. Like this is real shit. Yeah, number one in incarceration. Like there are records that we hold as a country that aren't good. And pointing that out is not anti-American, and it's not unpatriotic. In fact, it's more patriotic, because if we want our country to succeed, we have to analyze our faults. We have to. That is one of the most American things that you can fucking do. But these ball bag fucking dumb shit fucking... they don't understand that. They don't understand that. They have to play pandering to the most scared of passive observer.
We have a society where that stuff is prioritized, and legitimate viewpoints that, for example, we express at Breitbart.
People's Populist Press has more guts than the great Dave Rubin. Listen, PPP is a mensch, and he's a rare breed of human being, and it's a pity we don't have more. But I'm kind of glad we don't, because we need that kind of thing to be that rare treat that we all get every now and then.
Getting pushed either off or down the pages of these big tech platforms. How long can that go on before we're completely lost?
Well, it's a great question, and I guess to bring it back to those Washington Generals, there must have been a guy on the Washington Generals who knew he was going to lose every game, but kept fighting the good fight anyway. You know, he must have been in the locker room going, guys, we can do it today. We can do it today.
Sure.
Look, that's the great question related to all of this.
Sure.
That is what this all boils down to.
Sure.
Is at a certain level, I think what you're asking is, have we lost already? Because
Yes.
has the game already been fixed to the point where mainstream media, where Hollywood, where big tech, where all of it has become so corrupt, has done things to manipulate us and to hide information from us at such a high level that our ability to come back from that is gone. Now, I think that's
Yeah. Yep. Unironically. Yep. Dave Rubin is right. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. He's right.
I think someone making that argument could make a pretty cogent argument right there.
Yeah, but he doesn't understand what the argument that he just made. That's the whole point of it is completely lost on him. To say that at this point in time, that the overwhelming amount of media that we consume, the messages that are sent to us, either from specifically government institutions to media organizations that have absolutely no restrictions on them. We don't have the fairness doctrine anymore. They all have their own bias. That we can, in some fucking form or another, actually have a broader and unbiased conceptual understanding? No, we can't. We can't. Nope. Doesn't exist. Sorry. Fuck you. Nope. It's gone. And it hasn't been there for a long time. But he's using this like renegade kind of idea to try and push that he's kind of an outsider. Bitch, you work for Glenn Beck, okay? You are far worse than anybody else, you fucking ball bag. Man.
The pushback on that, and the reason I would say I'm still an optimist, although a world-weary optimist on this, is that people are waking up. People are not buying. I mean, look, CNN's ratings are terrible.
Of course they're still buying it. You just said that can anybody actually like really truly know? And then you're like, but people are getting smart because they're listening to me. You fucking asshole.
Whatever they are for Anderson Cooper
Right.
tonight.
It's just so
my
transparent.
show,
It's so
I will
transparent.
most likely have more views, and they're actual views, by the way, not just airport views. I will have more views on whatever content I put up today on YouTube than Anderson Cooper will have on CNN tonight. Now, his operation also cost millions of dollars on any given day with the amount of staff.
Yes.
You know, it's a little less now because of the way they're filming things, but generally speaking, you know, tons of staff and unions and all of those things. You know what I've got? I got a camera, I got my producer Michael sitting right here, and I got a computer, and we're good.
You know, that's amazing. Like, look, Dave Rubin is a man of the people, okay? You can trust Dave Rubin. Dave Rubin, who has a contract with with the Blaze and Glenn Beck. Dave Rubin, who works with outright, openly propagandist outlets who say how much of a fucking happy chimp he is for their fucking side, like Dennis Prager and PragerU. He's a man of the people. You know, he's not the kind of guy to spend $600 on a pair of loafers. No. He keeps it down to a tasteful $300. Listen, he's not wearing a $5,000 watch. It's 4.5. Okay? Look, Dave Rubin is a man of the fucking people, and you can fucking listen to him because he only has a producer who came to his lavish house with his in-house built studio with like thousands of dollars worth of fucking video equipment just for this. You can trust him. What the fuck, dude? Like, I've tried to explain this to people before. The moment somebody on the internet, the moment anybody says, you can trust me, and then tries to tell you how reality should be described, they're manipulating you. They're lying to you. Absolutely. Every single fucking time.
Good to go. So I think by being slimmer and trimmer,
doesn't get funding from the IHS with a whole bunch of donors like the Coke. Okay, from what I understand, Dave Rubin was 100% viewer funded, which is when I was a big fan of him, when I hung out with him and I drank tequila with him, he was 100% viewer funded. Then he took a partnership with Learned Liberty. Learned Liberty is a group that is funded by the Koch brothers. From there, He started doing a brief bit of work with PragerU, working through another production company. I can't remember the name of it right now. That they did a partnership, and from there he did a partnership with the Blaze, and now he actually has a contract signed, and he is an employee of the Blaze. And people don't really understand how influential and how dangerous the Blaze is, but they are. They're real. They're a real fucking threat to, like, democracy because of how fucking manipulative they are. The Blaze is like some evil empire kind of shit, and most people don't realize that. The Blaze is fucking crazy.
And that sort of links us back to your earlier question about staying ahead of the game in the tech space. I think we can win the minds. I think we can win the hearts. The question is really, how corroded is the system? How broken is it?
Right.
And what will these people do? What will these people do, in effect, to silence people like us? And that is really one of the dangers of the asymmetry right now. You know, if you're...
It is called evolution, bitch. And I'm a pear. I'm a pear. I'm a big pear. Wait, hang on. Hey, y'all. We're just pairing around right now. I'm an angry pear. Everything's fine. We're just having fun over here on twitch.tv/RealJeffHoliday. Woo! Called evolution, bitch. Thank you so much, Jail Not Here, for the fucking... Oh, gifted a sub to Armor and Quills. Thank you very much, buddy. Appreciate you. By the way, Jail Not Here, did you send me more tea? Because I love your tea. Your tea's amazing.
If you're on the right, you know,
for everybody
you
else,
don't
that's a
view
sexual
government
reference.
As the benevolent leader of all of us. You don't view it as
Sure.
your salvation, but on the left they do. So they would love to use the power of government to silence people, where on the right, again, it's not to say nobody on the right wants to use government to silence people, but generally it's not a precept of people on the right, where government is the end all be all on the left. So they would gladly do things, by the way, like, what would they do? Well, they might send the IRS to investigate Tea Party Act groups like Obama did, right? We all know that.
Right.
Has Trump been investigating media matters or Soros-linked groups? I don't think so. You know, they kind of talk about maybe they'll do some stuff, but the right doesn't use.
I don't know enough about this. Like, is that a confirmed thing that, like, Obama specifically sent the IRS to, like, pick apart the Tea Party? I find it a little suspect because Glenn Beck was a big name in the Tea Party circuit back in the day. That sounds like something Papa Glenn was kind of like, now listen here, David, before you go out there and you talk to our friends at Breitbart, I'm going to need you to make sure you mention how Barack tried to get the IRS to investigate me and all my friends. Thanks so much. Also, will you pick me up another neck scarf while you're out? Thanks so much. Appreciate you. God bless. It's my Glenn Beck impression. That just sounds absolutely nothing like Glenn Beck.
Use the levers of power because they don't believe that those are the end all be all. And that asymmetry does put us at a tough spot.
Can we just accept the fact that Glenn Beck it has more neck scarves than Johnny Depp at this point, but it is so painfully obvious he's wearing it to hide his enormous throat? He's wearing it to hide his enormous lack of chin. And, like, look, dude, if you don't have a chin, fine. It's okay. It really is. It's fine. It's okay. It's not that big of a deal. If you don't have a chin, it's okay. Weak chin, whatever. There's no hate here. We're all kings, okay? We love each other, and it's fine. But if you're like Glenn and you dress like you're in a South African fucking safari, and then you got this big fucking weird neck scarf to try and cover up your lack of chin, it's really obvious. It's really obvious, and we can't stop thinking about it. I'll find a picture here in a minute while we're listening to this dumb... Look at my pause game, by the way. Look at Dave right now. Just look at Dave. So I want you to appreciate how magical my ability to pause is. I'm overdosing on high level ideas right now. Rest in power, Michael Brooks.
Yeah, that's why I feel like we're in this foot race to have the people on the woke left that think that there are certain things that simply cannot be said or considered, when they hit critical mass, if they hit it before folks like you and I can reach people, not even Dave, probably if we took 10 ideas, maybe we'd agree on 6.5 of them. That's not even the point. The point is that we would be willing to go back and forth. And that was something that I loved about America, that this is what America was all about. And what's remarkable is that if you look at Trump's platform, he's actually adopted a few of the Democrats' best ideas. I joke that he actually took all their best ideas. You know, fixing trade, no endless wars, bring the troops home. We don't have to bomb everyone. The list goes on.
But Trump has been bombing the shit out of countries a lot lately. This whole idea that he got us out of endless wars, which is one of the reasons that I really was hoping he'd do good. I wanted Trump to get us out of endless wars. I really did. I really did. We're still in Afghanistan. We're still in Iraq. We're still there. The endless wars have not ended. They're still going on. So, no, like, dude, suck a dick.
We need an infrastructure program. And all the stuff, you would think this would make him more popular. No, of course not. It makes him much less popular. The left really resents.
In many ways. Yeah, well, in many ways, that is sort of the genius of.
In fact, like, thank you for mentioning that, Erdania. Like, Trump bombing that Iranian general took us really close to fucking war. Really close. And I don't know about you guys. Like, maybe there's some people out there who are like, okay, well, I kind of like see maybe the benefit of Trump over Hillary back like 4 years ago was specifically because, like, we were afraid that, like, Hillary was going to take us into war with Iran. There were people who had serious concerns about that. I was one of them. I did not want more war. I wanted less fucking war. He took us to the brink with fucking Iran over killing their top general. What the fuck was that? You don't get to claim that Trump is anti-war anymore. You can't. It doesn't make any sense.
Of Trump. Let's not forget, Trump was the first president in the history of the United States, not even Barack Obama, who as a first-time presidential candidate was for gay marriage. Barack Obama, first time around, was not for gay marriage. So that's Trump took what was thought of as a lefty talking point or a Democratic talking point. But even more deep than that, the other stuff that you just mentioned there is totally right.
Like, okay, it happened under Obama, and Trump was like, okay. What does that mean? That doesn't fucking mean anything.
Trump is not a war president. We're supposed to think of Republicans and conservatives for nation building and war. No, it's the Democrats now who seem to want to declare war on Russia, apparently. Not only that, but Trump, I don't know if you heard about this, Trump is literally creating peace in the Middle East. Israel has signed 2 deals.
It's a huge deal.
Now they're saying there could be as many as 9 more coming.
Yeah, all of them are with countries that had no conflicts with each other. It's symbolic bullshit.
To completely change the paradigm in the Middle East. That changes the entire world. These are things that I thought everybody wanted, right? I thought peace in the Middle East. We all disagree on everything, but what does everyone want? Well, everybody wants peace in the Middle East, but apparently not if Trump gives it, to the point where the Atlantic, which is a shell of its former self, they wrote a piece on how they should just disband the Nobel Prize now because Trump might get it because of this. It's like you guys, when
Trump's not going to get it. Trump's not going to get it. Like, this is something that most people don't understand about the Nobel Prize, and listen, I am shocked that Dave Rubin doesn't know about the Nobel Prize. So, like, just a random thing out there, I'm sure you guys have probably heard this before. Adolf Hitler got nominated for Person of the Year on Time, right? He also, at one point, got nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. That was done largely as a fucking joke. Anybody can get nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. It just has to go through a very specific process. It doesn't mean they're going to fucking get it. It doesn't mean that they're actually going to fucking get it. I don't know where he's getting this idea that, like, a newspaper is gonna start calling for the disbanding of the Nobel Committee because I don't think Dave Rubin really understands what country the Nobel Committee operates out of either. That's maybe the other thing that's kind of weird, maybe.
When you talk about Trump derangement syndrome, these people truly have it. But I think your question is correct, which is the point of your question, which is sort of like Trump. I think Trump is the last sort of bridge between conservatism and liberalism that we're ever going to have if the left wins this election. Because if they win this election, what will happen to the right is they're going to go, okay, Trump was a little...
Okay, I wanted to make absolutely sure. I knew that it was in Northern Europe. I wasn't sure if it was Scandinavia or not. The Nobel Peace Prize is awarded by a committee of 5 appointed by the the Norwegian Parliament. Damn them Vikings for trying to cheap President Trump from his...
Well, he's a character, he's orange, his hair is crazy, but he was sort of a center-right guy. You know what?
Sure.
If that didn't even work, let's really go right. And then we'll have something that I think would be truly scary. And the left, we know that Biden is just the placeholder for the bananas lefties. So if people think it's bad right now...
Who is he talking about?
It could get much worse. And ironically, someone like me, the only way you stop it is you vote for Trump. I can't believe it, but there I am.
See, but this is also amazing.
You could totally believe it because you're planning on doing this for a long time. This is a long con. It's been a long con. And I really hate to say this, but only the most low IQ fucking people at this point have not picked up on the fact that Dave Rubin is an absolute fucking shill. I'm sorry. And if you're one of those people, I'm sorry, guy. Like, I'm sorry. I love you, but this dude, he is not on the level.
Too, because I know that there's probably a lot of people in your audience and a few people in Breitbart's audience as well who are Bernie Sanders supporters. And Bernie Sanders was for closed borders until it became impossible to hold that position within the Democratic Party because he understood the first people penalized with over widespread immigration are the lowest rungs of society, the exact people that...
Bernie Sanders was for closing immigration in the midst of us having to deal with the potentiality of radical Islamic fucking terror. And we saw the effects of this on a scale unbefore seen of death and destruction on our country. Everybody felt that fucking way. Everybody did. And removing that context of why people had that opinion is really shitty. But I wouldn't expect any less from Damien from The Omen and Tomato Rubin. I don't know what the fuck is going on with his face, dude.
The guy claims he's fighting for, so he got it before the party bosses get your hooks in you.
Well, if you were to say to me, Dave, do you get any of the populism, the populist energy behind Bernie? I would say yes. But if you would say to me, Dave, do you believe that any of the policy prescriptions supported by Bernie are the right answers? I would say no. So
Sure.
that's where I think Trump bested Bernie. They actually had some of the similar issues. Look, Tucker is a populist, and he's become, I think, really like Tucker Carlson, obviously I'm talking about.
Of course,
he's become sort of the main intellectual backing behind Trump, the main mainstream, I should say, intellectual backing behind Trumpism. And it's like Bernie's whole problem wasn't that he didn't have any sense of what the issues were. It was that his problem was the system is horrible, but the way to fix it is to give it more money and just to get my people in power.
Right.
That's not how you fix a system. That's actually how you strengthen a system against people, because not everyone agrees what the right solutions are. The only way you take some power back as people is to give a little less power to the government. And oddly, although Trump obviously loves power, what has he done? He has gotten rid of a ton of regulation. He's given power to the states.
Most of the regulation that he's taking away, by the way, is largely things that we probably need, making sure that our food's safe, making sure that we're not polluting the shit out of the fucking planet. There's the very depressing report that came out recently that shows that, in fact, no, we're not backsliding away from climate change. We're accelerating forward because of things like not adhering to the Paris Climate Accords. We're doing that. Our country is doing that. Trump is doing that. But he doesn't care, and none of these people care because they're so fucking short-sighted. All they think about is in, like, increments of 4 fucking years. They don't think about, like, I don't know, are our grandchildren going to be able to fucking breathe? They don't care. They don't fucking care. And Dave doesn't have to fucking care either. He's gay. He's not going to have any fucking kids. He doesn't have to think. But he's still going to pander to people who do have children, but are going to be, like, swooned into thinking that they don't have to think about this kind of shit because of the stupid crap that is vomiting out of this dude's fucking mouth. And I disrespect Dave Rubin so much that literally while we're recording it and watching this, I went and I peed and washed my hands with a fucking wet nap. I don't understand why these people are always like, oh, this guy didn't stand for this and person changed their support on that. But, like, duh, a good politician changes their view or supports a view they may not agree on because it's what the people want. That's right. That's the whole, like, the idea of having a representative democracy or a republic is the idea that we're going to have people elected who are supposed to be bringing forth the things that are important to us. Like, the idea that politicians don't change is insanity. Insanity.
Whether you think his COVID response is good or not,
it's not.
In essence, giving power to the states, I think, is the right thing to do.
Right.
So I think he's...
So then why is it that he's, like, trying to punish states when they decide to take their own autonomy? Or is your joyous embrace of states' rights only exist when it's convenient, you fucking hack?
He's governed really as sort of a center-right thing, which I think is the future. You know, the future of politics in pluralistic societies, I fully believe to be center-right future. Australia voted that way. The UK voted that way. Israel voted that way. The only country in recent elections that didn't is Canada, which is a little bizarre. But I think once Trudeau finishes wrecking Canada or Western Canada secedes, they'll vote another way too. But I think a center-right future.
Western Canada secedes? I don't think Dave Rubin has even the barest functional understanding of Canadian politics either. Like, you guys know that there's some real fucking crazy shit going on with Canada these days, right? Like, some real fucking weird, troubling struggle shit going on. It's real bad. Real bad. And, but I don't think Dave has any conception of, like, how it works.
Future is the right course if you want to live in a free society.
Yeah, and we're at this moment where we just can't get past the personal. People can't get past the mean tweets and some of the things Trump says in the rallies. Of course, I delight in most of those things most days, but a lot of people can't. And I understand it, but if you look at his policies, if you actually look at the policies, they're very much populist, center-right.
Sure.
And we'll see how it shakes out with the voters when you've got these people on the left who are behaving like bullies, Dave. And this is one thing that I'm noticing at this particular moment. Everyone is mourning the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who, even though I disagree with...
Oh, God. Okay. All right. I knew that this is coming. I knew that at some point, like, we were going to have to, like... Okay. 37 minutes in, almost 38 minutes in. It's one of the first things in the goddamn title of the video. I'm not looking forward to this, and I'll try and make it through. We'll see.
A lot of her judicial decisions, was someone who I think a lot of people on the right, myself included, respected as an American. And who was her best friend? It was Antonin Scalia. She was a class act. It's what would she think of if she was? What do you think her reaction would be that
today, Junior?
People are now in her name saying we're going to pack the court in your honor, though she was against court packing. It seems so manipulative and blatantly political.
The fuck are you talking about? She'd be against court packing. You realize right now that there's already a majority. And with her passing, it becomes even more of a majority. But they're not going to say that because they need to, like, weave and woo the people who are passive, empty-headed vessels that are not really going to think about what they're saying.
And yet that's exactly what happened within 24 hours of her death. You have Jerry Nadler coming out there and saying we're going to pack the court in her honor, though she opposed it. This is just crazy stuff that the media won't talk about.
It's even more perverse.
Because it's not true. You're literally trying to describe, like, the opposite of fucking reality. It's so, oh my God. And there are so many people who are going to watch this interview and be like, yeah. They're not even going to think about it. Like, it's already stacked. The court is already stacked towards a Republican conservative base. It already is. It's already been that way. I just
that, because what they immediately started to say wasn't just packing the courts, but you could find AOC and Chuck Schumer and Kamala Harris all saying some version of it was her dying wish.
Yes.
It was her dying wish that Trump not replace her.
Okay.
The implication being that we shouldn't be governed by the laws and the Constitution, but we should be governed by dying wishes. Now, let's try to do the other version of this. Let's say a conservative judge passed away, and their fervent dying wish was that they didn't get replaced by the Democratic president. Do you think the Democratic lawmakers would be calling for respecting the dying wish? I mean, it's...
No. They tried. They tried. Everything that they possibly... Like, okay, when Antonin Scalia went in... Oh, my God. This is so fucking dumb. This is so fucking dumb. The whole basis behind trying to hold off somebody to replace a Supreme Court justice was invented by the fucking conservatives. We know this. When Scalia died, they pushed and they pushed and they pushed and they pushed. They're like, oh, well, you know, we're 11 months away from the election. That's too close. We're going to have to wait. Now we're like, what, 3 months away from the election? They're like, well, let's just do it right now. This is literally invented by the conservatives. And the only reason why it's different right now is that we don't really have any way to stop them. They're just going to do it. They're just going to fucking do it. But there's nothing, like, fair about it. Like, this is the thing that's so fucking weird. Damien from The Omen, this little fucking bitch baby right here with Dave fucking Rubin, are trying to paint this narrative that Democrats somehow are going to levy some, like, weird fucking weight. They can't stop it. They can't stop it. It's going to be appointed anyway. It's going to be appointed this nasty fucking bitch-ass, weird, regressive woman who's awful. She's going to get in. We can't stop it. We have to make peace with the fact that it's already done. It's already fucking done. But they're going to paint this as that, like, there's going to be overcoming this adversity to get it done. No. There's not even a speed bump that we can throw in front of this. There's nothing. It's gonna fucking happen.
It's just, it's silly, overly emotional nonsense. But to the heart of what you're asking, the left has made a decision. None of the norms matter anymore. The second they get into power, they will gladly destroy the Electoral College. They will gladly destroy the amount of justices on the Supreme Court.
We should destroy the Electoral College. Yeah, we should.
There will be nothing that exists now. They are telling you, I mean, this was the point of the 1619 Project. America wasn't founded on a place that was going to give more people more freedom than any other place on earth, which is exactly what it did. It was founded because of slavery, as if that was the primary driver, which, by the way, now the 1619 Project people are slowly removing. They're deleting a lot of their tweets, and they're removing a lot of the stuff that they themselves put out there because it's ahistorical nonsense.
Why are you even bringing up slavery? I don't know what you're talking about.
But it's been swallowed fully by the New York Times, obviously, and CNN and most of academia and everything else. So we got a major fight ahead of us. But I'll tell you this, you can find videos of mine in 2013 when I was a lefty and a Democrat, and I was on the Young Turks, a far left YouTube channel. And when Harry Reid did that nuclear option, when he said, okay, you don't have to have that supermajority anymore, you just have to have the 51, to confirm a justice, there are videos of me as a lefty saying, this is a bad move, guys. Because if you change this now, it's exactly what Mitch McConnell said. It'll be used against you, and it'll be used against you more quickly than you can imagine. And so this is the fault of the Democrats. This is the fault. They were the ones that made this policy a policy. It's Harry Reid's fault, and they all clapped the entire way. And congratulations, because Trump is obviously nominating someone. We hear it's happening this weekend. And you know what? He's going to get the 50, the 51, whether Romney's involved or not, because he's got Pence as the tiebreaker.
Sure. And I think Romney's in as of now. And by the way, Dave, this is why, you know how in the UK the first toast is always to the Queen, and the Marlowe House is always to Harry Reid. He always gets the first toast. We always think.
Gross. Real gross.
Dave Rubin, The Rubin Report. Don't burn this book. Last question for today, Dave, is that you and I have a very similar, I think, persona in the sense that we're both sort of happy warriors. We don't tend to give a lot of ground.
We both have a vapid, empty personality stuffed inside of our vacuous, caucasoid fucking skulls.
When we're debating people, but we kind of do it with a smile and without yelling. I obviously believe we should have a little more of that these days. I think that'd be very healthy. But speak to this and why it does feel like there's so few people who take that viewpoint.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that as the last question, because I've actually found it more difficult lately because, since my book came out, I'm now, in an odd sense as an interviewer, I've become more well-known for my views and thoughts on things than on the interviewing side. So I always liken this to my friend and mentor, Larry King, who, for 40 years was the best interviewer.
Who oddly has not been getting you on his show. Kind of like how Joe Rogan's not been getting you on his show lately. That's weird. Super weird. Why are you on Breitbart, Dave? Why aren't you on a bigger platform? Why Breitbart? No.
We had in America, but you really didn't know any of his opinions. And that made it safe for him to create a space for people to share theirs. I really did the best I could with that for the, first 5 years of my show. And as the world has shifted, and I think as all of our roles shift.
And as the checks cleared from the Blaze TV.
I think it's not incumbent on me. I have no choice but to say what I think. And that in some ways has made my job as an interviewer more difficult. I'll give you one example. I interviewed Joe Jorgensen, the Libertarian presidential candidate, a few days ago. And as I said to you earlier, I love all of those ideas intellectually. Like, okay, legalize everything and everyone do whatever you want.
Sure.
But and that's her basic premise on everything. That's the point of the Libertarian Party. And I like a lot of that stuff, but I just think the rubber meets the road and then you do need some structure. And at the end of the interview, and I said that to her repeatedly during the interview, but at the end of the interview, she said, "So did I convince you to vote for me?" And I said, no. I said, I like all these interviews. I'm an ally. I like all these ideas, and I'm an ally in this conversation with you. But I think the left is such a threat that I see no way around voting for Donald Trump, on top of the other reasons.
And that's it. That's it. That's absolutely it. 100%. That is exactly it. It's the same thing that I said in the last time that we were talking about this in the first half of the video. Look, this is the fucking grift. This is absolutely the fucking grift. This is what it's all about. Dave Rubin has been trying to sell himself as this free speech fucking advocate kind of guy. Very much like in tune with the libertarian sort of thing. But when you try and press him on like what libertarianism actually is, he doesn't know. He doesn't have any fucking idea. If you try and press him on what are these like very troublesome aspects of the right wing or the fucking conservative party, he'll be like, well, yeah, I accept that, but... And instead, what happens, what fills that gap is the entire strategy of the right wing for the past 4 years. It's not our ideas are good. No. They do not tell you our ideas are good because they know that nobody likes their ideas. Their ideas are backwards and dumb. They know that. That's why they're not trying to sell you on conservatism, because they know it's distasteful and it's old and it's dumb. That's why they don't try and tell you, like, join conservatives. We hate gays. They don't do that. Even though that is part of the fucking policy, is to try and suppress marriage equality. That is a real fucking thing. That is actually still stated as one of their goals. It's still there. They never took it off. But you could point that to somebody who is a conservative or somebody who's like a ball bag fucking asshole washer like Dave Rubin. And they'll be like, well, and then they bring forward the talking point. They bring forward the strategy. There's one strategy, one talking point, one thing they always do. That's it. That's their whole fucking strategy. 4 years now with this bullshit. 4 fucking years. And it's 4 letters. That's it. And it's one of the most effective fucking political campaigns I've ever seen in my life. The left is insane. That's it. When you vote for Trump, you are not voting because you think Trump is a good president. Ain't nobody think he's a good president. Only the most fucking... Only some weird-ass corn farmer who spends their night masturbating while huffing a fucking cow patty thinks that he's actually a good president. Nobody thinks he's a good president. Nobody does. Nobody. They might think he's okay, but nobody thinks he's a good president. No, they don't. Nobody is trying to sell you on the ideas of the right wing because they know they're backwards and they're funky and they're dumb. They don't actually promote good economic values. They don't help the blue-collar worker. They don't help lift everybody up out of poverty and like even the playing field. They know it's just as neocorporatist as the fucking Democrats are. They know that. Everybody knows that. Everybody does. Nobody's so fucking dumb unless they are literally huffing paint in their fucking shed to think anything different. No. One tactic, one talking point. That's it. 4 fucking words. The left is insane. That's it. You don't vote for Trump to vote for Trump. You vote for Trump to not vote for the left because you think it's crazy. That's it. That's it. There is literally nothing more complicated about this than that. That is the whole fucking point. It's insanity. It's absolutely fucking crazy. And I feel like I'm taking crazy pills because so many people don't really understand that that is the entire basis by how they're voting anymore. You don't vote for the right, you vote against the left. And if you ask them, like, who's the left? Well, all fucking crazy people, Antifa people want to force my children to become transgendered. And none of it's real. It's all fucking made up. It's all bullshit. It's the brainworms. It must be the brainworms. Dude, like, I can't even anymore, man. I can't. It's so fucking crazy. It's so cringy. I am horrified that so many people in this world would willingly give up their own autonomy to just buy into the dumbest fucking answers from these morons. It makes me feel really bad for people.